Hey, Benjamin, I'm glad you made it back. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Kind of miss everybody. It's been a while again. Y'all staying busy? It's crazy busy around here. Well, in the fourth, we had that going on. A lot was going on that week. Son's birthday. They did the fourth on the first here, so it was kind of like days of the fourth. Hello, Anaconda. Good to see you. So, have y'all noticed there's not a lot of news, or it's crazy news? It's funny news. It's weird news. It's like there's things that they should be discussing that they're not. Distractions, maybe? What do y'all think? I think they're just trying to distract us, like the cocaine at the White House. I was watching a TikTok video that someone sent me, and I don't know how to share them. I'm not on TikTok, so that's probably why I can't share it. But this guy, John Solomon, somehow said he got a document that had said it was Hunter's phone. And so he decided to call it and see what happened. You never know, right? Well, Joe answered. Thought that was kind of weird. Maybe y'all seen the TikTok video and know what I'm talking about. Hi, Kiss Off. Good to see you, sweetie. And some other weird headlines. Where is it? 10 things about our society that's. And one of them was how Texas shrank its homeless population and what it can teach California. And I know that they're doing a lot of old motels. Um, I think they're using the old airport. Hey, Patrick Kelly, good to see you. They're putting up tiny home communities that they help them find jobs, even if it's just a little part time job, or else they help them to find a place to volunteer. And they also work the grounds at the tiny home community. They grow things. Yeah, that's one of the headlines I saw was Michelle Obama has something to do with the school lunches or something, and so she's been really active in the lunches that the kids are getting at school. And to me, the easiest solution for that is the way that the charter school was that my girls attended. They had a garden growing out back. The kids did the garden, and whatever was in the garden, they would take to the lunchroom and use in the lunchroom. A lot of the kids were vegetarian. It's a hippie school, so um, but still, it was grown there and it was used for the kids in the school, and it taught them all of it, how to grow it, how to prepare it, because the students could go in and help the parents. The parents did a lot of the volunteering. I'm sure there was one main person that was hired for the kitchen, but everyone worked together. Benjamin. And that's what we should all be doing, is working together. Um, no matter what they're throwing at us, it's first thing is say no. We've been talking about, remember the old days when we would do something at the school wasn't right and we'd do the sit-ins. We'd all just go out to the parking lot and sit down. Nope, we're not going to allow this. And it worked. Usually there was a discussion, we came to a compromise and solved this situation, whatever it was. In the 70s or 60s, whenever it was, I don't know when it was, when they were carrying around no war signs, we're against war, whatever it was peaceful. Yes, some people got arrested, but what could they hold them for? I know we see what happened J6, and I know that's what they want. They were, that whole thing was planned from the beginning to the end. They didn't arrest them all at once. They didn't arrest them on the grounds. They did it in a way to scare people that they can just come to your home and take you. No, they can't. Well, they can try. And back again to get to know your sheriff. My sheriff says no. It would have to be a deal, case, proof, stuff. I know they think they have more power than we do, but they don't. Hey, Aniette, Jack, good to see you. Astua, good to see you too. I sent out some invitations. I talked to Chuck earlier. He's thinking now, he's kind of getting creepy too, that they might have caught something from a friend that came to visit. But it's still, I don't want it. It doesn't sound too good. So one of the people I invited was Ronan. I was talking to him, and um, just in talking, I was like, I need to be doing something more than just so thinking that I need to be doing more than what I'm doing. I'm cleaning off my work table, which is where I've been filing papers for the past probably 4 or 5 years. So it's a lot of paperwork to go through. Getting just like my mother. Uh, Hi, Sharon. Good to see you. And so once I get my work table cleaned off, I'm going to start making things again. Um, Bracelets. And I don't know what all. I, I was making these barefoot sandals, and they look really cute. Like if you're getting married on the beach, you want to be barefooted. You can't walk on the beach in high heels. And so I would do them white with beads and You can just, you can fancy them up however you want to. D, you know you can talk about anything here. Wish you would. I'm gonna drop the link. Don't make me call you chicken. I'm joking. If you're really in a bad place, I love you, and you know you can talk to me anytime. All right, hon. I hope you're okay. Um, I was watching Roman Prepper earlier, and they were talking about um, all the people are just pulling crazy things these days. Like in a store parking lot, I saw this one video. This lady and her husband and kids were in a store, and this group of people came in and they were taking pictures of her, and they were really just staring her straight in the eye. They were not hiding that she was a target for whatever they had planned. And she got her husband. It ended up, they told the clerk and the supervisor, and then they called the police, and it turned into a thing. But the people ran off, but still, it was like some of the things she was hearing, something was planned. And so that's Roaming Pepper, excuse me, can't talk tonight, was talking about really keeping an eye out around you. Like, um, be the most observant you've ever been. Really watch the way the people are acting around you. If they're paying more attention to you than normal, if they're if they're not paying any attention at all, maybe get their attention. Um, I don't know. Just be careful out there. A lot of people are muggings and stealing stuff and just being stupid. Of course, I know y'all see the shootings that are still going on. They can't wait to put those up, but not any real news. Yeah, they are acting different. It is hard to be positive these days. Anaconda, that's so. Are y'all paying attention to the summit that's coming up the 11th? Are y'all paying attention to Ukraine wanting to join NATO? Y'all paying any attention to the consequences of something like that? And that's what I'm concerned about. Anaconda. And y'all know if it's a world war, what that'll mean. Thank you, Aniette Jack. Wow. Stu, I didn't hear that one. Interesting. All I heard about Ben and Jerry's is they went like bud. Yeah. And if there's some way you can take a self defense class, do it. If you can, little baseball bat, little whatever. Hey Ronan, did you get your email? Yeah, Sharon, that's one of my friends. Well, I guess maybe even my son. Chrissy Cat, good to see you. How are you? I hope you're doing better. Sorry, guys. Now what? I don't have my book positioned right. Hey, Ronan.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. Finally got done with all the chores for the day.
Cool. Oh, who else decided to join us? Hey, George.
Hey, hey, how's it going?
It's never Larry.
It's never Larry.
It's
It's
never
always Larry.
Larry.
Oh,
Yeah.
never Larry.
This book says it all. I couldn't see you talking yourself live, so I had to come up. But Rona beat me, so I can leave.
I think it was a tie. I think it was a tie. It's
Ow.
just finally got dark here. I was out pretty much as soon as the rain stopped. I finally got the yard mowed, and I got the trimmer out, got everything trimmed, started weeding and everything, and then just got eaten up by something. My legs look like someone took a red magic marker and just went to town. Polka dots everywhere.
Huh.
I broke two nails today. I didn't put nothing on them.
Um, Kiss off. I've done that with a toenail. The main thing is keep it clean. It will grow back, and keep it covered because you're going to hit that thing every time you turn around. Have y'all noticed that? When you have an injury, it's like it just keeps on getting hit over and over. Hey, Navy vet.
Yeah, that finger will be a target for anything.
Yes.
You'll be bumping it on everything. You'll notice just how many times you bump that hand a day
Yeah.
or toe.
And that's, um, and I don't remember who told me, but it's better to use the double antibiotic ointment instead of the triple.
There was when son was a baby,
Oh,
polysporin instead of neosporin.
yes.
Yeah.
Polysporin.
Sorry, y'all.
God, that hurts so bad. Just thinking
So,
about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
tell the troublemaker hi, Bonnie. She's sitting right next to you.
Did you hear that?
I'll be. I'll
Never,
be right back.
never Larry said hi. She's, she's having allergies. She'll be right back.
My dog's done with the heat. He's ready for winter again.
Aw. Yep. We had a little bit of a cold front today. It was only 89. Well, it got cooler for some reason.
Talk about Arctic, or was that vortex or whatever?
I was in this semi-cement jungle. It didn't feel cooler. So I'm sorry. Who said hi? I didn't mean to.
George.
Hi, George. I didn't mean to sound like an elephant while I was blowing my nose.
Couldn't
That was embarrassing. I was like, whoa, that's different. I haven't got to another state.
At least it wasn't us, right?
I'm sorry, George, but
I said at least it wasn't us that were being the bad ones out there. At least it ain't us,
It wasn't our fault this time.
right? I can blame it on somebody else this time.
Oh, wait, I ain't been around in a while. What?
ouch.
Go watch my video I put up today.
Yeah,
George's?
yes. Is that the one that was about the border? No,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
the Hunter Biden song. That,
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I saw that with the music video, where that was pretty well done, I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll have to go look at it. I don't know why I didn't get a notification for that one. Sometimes I get them and sometimes I don't. But the one with the border, that was pretty creepy there, George.
Yeah, with the officers cutting holes and letting them in, giving them directions, bringing them
Yes.
in on those boats.
And then did you
Unbelievable.
see in the UK and in Germany? And they're just coming right out and saying we're here to
I've been trying to tell everybody this is what
outpopulate.
they preach. This is what they teach.
Yep.
This is, and they're just being used just like any other religious organization against others. I mean, it's no different. It's layers upon layers upon layers of deceit. That's what it all is.
Yes.
And they're being used just like everybody else. But hey, I mean, they haven't lost their animal instincts. Is all I can say.
And I guess I will say it this way: we have a few different options here than they do in Germany and other countries that they've already had those options taken from them.
Yes. That's true. Because I
The
think
world runs on money. That's what they want. They want money. That's what the world runs on.
Yeah. That's the problem in Chicago right now. A lot of people in the ghettos are getting mad because all the immigrants are coming in. They got the cash, so they're paying rent. So they're getting apartments and stuff like that. And rents are going up and things are getting more expensive. And, the citizens are
You
not
want
so
evil
well.
to stop, get rid of money.
Yeah.
Well, at least fake money. Get real money, and it'd be a whole different game.
I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I mean, they couldn't do any of this if it wasn't for money. Nothing. Someone's getting paid to do this. And just that the world is accepted a scam.
Everything that's going on is about money. We know that they're all getting paid for.
You couldn't do none of this stuff if it wasn't for money. Somebody's getting paid somewhere along the line to do what's going on.
Yep.
And just like the people that are letting this go on, they're getting paid too, and don't even realize that they're part of the problem. I mean,
Yeah.
what can you say? And I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm part of the problem too. I'm just trying to fix my end of it.
Yeah.
I just want to know the truth. And that's why I question anything and everything. But that's what makes people bad people. Because they question everything and anything. What's easy is you start a flag and everybody thinks you love America. Hell, these people are burning them after they harbor them. It's mine now, they say. Yeah.
So, sorry about that. Once we find out the truth, then what? I mean,
Then you accept it, and then it doesn't bother you. Then you start. Then you start doing things to try to, I don't know, minimize it. I guess you should say in your life.
minimize or counter
Well,
or
you start
peacefully.
taking charge of your own life. I mean, you work as a group. You work as a family. You work as a community. You work. I mean, but people don't want to do it. Everybody's got their own different direction. Everybody's got their own pet peeves, and there's so many different distractions out there and deceits, layers of this deceit that people can't just come together on a common bond. I wish it wasn't that way, but I mean, when people can't come together, I guess it is because we can't come up with a common bond.
Yeah. The problem is we're all so spread apart.
The common is where you want the future for your kids and grandkids to go.
Yes.
I guess that's what it's all about.
And that's
It's
where
the world we leave them, right? It's not, we weren't left a very good world. I mean, we were put in our paradigm just like we're being put into theirs right now. But theirs is, this paradigm we're shifting into is bad, 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 bad.
it
I mean,
is,
ours was bad enough.
it is going to be bad for them. And so that's one of the channels I just subbed to from Roaming Pepper. It was, I can't remember what it was called. The initials were MMS because I was talking to this person. I think it's a she, but I'm not sure. And they're going to do a show sometime this weekend, a live, and talk about how to talk to your teens and children about everything that's going on. Because that was one of the questions I asked is how do you do these talks without putting fear into them, but at the same time, let them know the seriousness of things that are going on. And then some people's attitude are, well, we'll worry about it when it happens. But from what I understand about preppers, which is what most of this community is you prepare for anything. So it's kind of like,
Here's the thing about what you just said, though, Bonnie.
hey,
You said, how do you talk to people without putting fear into it? You don't put fear into it. Fear is something people put into it themselves. Fear, I can't make you have fear. You can only make yourself have fear. This is what everybody, can't get over. The only person that can, any of your emotions, only you can control. And fear is one of them. God gave you a lot of different emotions for you would understand the greatest one of all, and that's love. So if you want fear, that's not love. But you've got all of them for you would know the greatest one of all of them. And there's a lot of different ones. I mean, if you're afraid, you make yourself afraid. I mean, hiding your head doesn't change what the hell's going on and who's really behind it all. It does not change it. It's accepting it.
Yeah.
And then you move on. And then I don't lose no sleep over this shit. I have faith, but I'm doing things that I just feel I need to do. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit people. Say, oh, those showed up one night while I was sleeping and told me to do this. No. I just know that these are the things that have to be done for my own family security.
George, everyone's having trouble hearing you. Is there a way to fix your mic?
Is that better?
I think so. Keep talking.
What I was saying was, only you can create fear. Nobody can create fear to you. Only you can create any emotion that you want. If you want to be scared of something, you're going to be scared of it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You're the only one that can control any emotion that you have. Is you.
Well, that's true.
So fear isn't one of them. God told you not to ever have fear. So looking for the truth, and there's so much shit out there. Not all this shit's going to be pleasing to the heart. You call that fear? I don't call that fear. I call that knowledge. What other people are calling fear, I'm calling knowledge.
Your audio is still not very good.
Yeah,
I think we can probably hear you a little better than they can in the
chat.
They're messing with me, so
but
I'm gonna get down.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head there, and it's kind of annoying that they can't hear you.
Hey, Richmond.
I don't want to try to put words in your mouth, but from what I understand, what you're saying is that this fear is a monster we build in our own minds. Would that be fair? Yeah. And I think
that goes with any emotion, not just fear, any emotion.
Any emotion, yeah. We can, glorify it and make that be all we dwell on, and it becomes that monster and consumes all of us. And I think kind of what Bonnie was talking about too, with having discussions with children in regards to the state of the world. I realized that the world has always been upside down, really, as far as I've been on it. So when I look back at my childhood, I remember things like my parents saying, this is summing it up in a nutshell. Basically, this is the Bible. This is how we live. We see the world as always doing something different, right? They're always going against the Bible, against the Word of God. But if you want to have a good life and you want to live right, this is how we do it, right? They lived it. Right. So this idea, I think, of having, a sit down conversation with your kids, it's always been the case. You always, stranger danger conversations, red flag touch conversations, all these things that we've had to kind of go through as children and as parents, right? Parents have to have the conversation with the children. And I've had those conversations with my parents when I was a child. You kind of realize in those conversations the state of the world, right? Mm-hmm. But it's from the perspective of this is how you get out of the world and stay in accordance with how we live in the Word of God, right?
Yes, thank you, Ronan. And that's why it's been hard for me. When we were kids, we were not allowed in adult conversations. If adults came over to visit my grandmother, because we were mostly living with her, we were in the backyard, locked out, unless we needed to go to the restroom. And that was it. Because if we were thirsty, there was a water hose, and so that's why it's been hard for me, like with the kids. I mean, there's a lot of things we've talked about. We had a psycho killer here in this small community at one time, and I was up straight and honest with them about that. It was front page newspaper, so of course they saw it and knew what was going on. And yeah, they were probably with me when we were looking for this person,
Probably
with all the fire department and police, and um, two of my friends found him, and luckily he was arrested, but he said he was gonna kill everybody. he, he was a bad one. And so, but this is more, um, I mean, no one wants to talk about World War. And
They learn
George,
about it in school every day. They learn about the
well,
last two.
that's true.
World War III was coming at 9/11.
I
No,
think you, yeah, I don't know. Some
maybe,
people say it already started. Yeah.
right.
As far as
But I'm talking about like as going as far as the draft. I remember years ago, and I don't even remember why they were talking about the draft then. It was when I was working at the newspaper, but um, that's gonna pop up again. So that's gonna affect. Well, I don't even know what age they go by.
Well,
If
don't you wait a minute? Don't you have to sign up for selective? Isn't that called selective service? And don't you have to sign up for it when you turn 18?
it that is
now, yeah.
voluntary, you I think when you do a voter registration, a license, anything, your name's out there ready for the picking. And so I'm not real sure how it works, but I've got 4 for sure that
And
are
based off of what you said, I think
eligible.
I have a way, but it's might as well be moving a mountain. If it's their paperwork that ties up our children and enslaving them to things like the draft because they have a driver's license and birth certificates or whatever their paperwork is, I say we stop giving them that. We stop
Well,
giving them that paperwork. We stop playing into that paperwork game. We stop. And it's, like I said, it'd be easier to move a mountain, guys. I'm not pretending like this sounds so easy to say. Yeah, I agree. It's nearly impossible. How do you do that? How do you have a child out of the system so they don't get papered up? I mean, I'm sure
right,
there's ways. However, right, it's risky. That's part of this whole thing.
yes,
How do you travel freely without being slaved up and having a driver's license and license plates on your car and all this stuff? I mean, the car, okay, you could put your personal property in a trust and get license plates and registration that way. Let's just say we're gaming the system here a little bit, right?
Chris and what?
But you get pulled over and you don't have a driver's license, and you're not in the system. They don't know who you are, man. They're going to take you in. You're the T word at that point.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, so back to the sit-ins. If everybody, and I mean, I wouldn't even know how to get the word out to everybody, but it's getting every single body to sit down and say, nope, not taking our kids. No, this is not happening. But in a world war, are you allowed to even make that decision? Because it's like all hands on deck.
I think first we have to admit to ourselves that the reason these things are happening is because there are parents in this world and in this country that take their children to that and glorify that and want their children to live that way. That's what this comes down to, right? No one's holding a gun to any parent's head and saying you're taking your kids to these things. No one does that. They take their kids willingly. Just like in ancient times, people took their children to be sacrificed to their false gods willingly. They're doing it the same thing today. This is just what it looks like, right? So that's the problem. So I mean, we can come together and we can homeschool and we can do all these things.
That's
However,
good.
these things will still exist in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm knowledgeable of consent. But still, it's consent.
And I guess the way to get to that, it's I mean, you have to change someone's heart almost, and that's where it's nearly impossible, I guess. And ultimately, this is a reflection of pain and hurting, right? A lot of what we see here is a result of people being abused and hurt over time and generations, and them manifesting just like this. So on one hand, I see them as, yeah, they're pretty much the enemy, but on the other hand, I see them as, well, they're kind of lost and wandering souls.
Yeah.
They're broken, right? Everything has failed them, the system, their families, whoever abused them, whatever it was, you know. So
Something put them on a different road, right?
pardon?
Something in life put them on a different road. I mean,
Right.
I
Something in their life
mean,
definitely changed.
right.
Hmm.
I don't know.
And that's just it. Do they have, I mean, that's what our gospel teaches, is redemption through Jesus Christ, right? Excuse me.
Right.
Um, and it's a gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how are gifts received by entitled people?
Hey, Kino. They just toss it aside and probably donate it to Goodwill or something. Did you say like rich people? Is that what you
Well, basically, I said, how do entitled people receive gifts? And you're right.
said?
You said exactly right.
Yeah. It doesn't, there's no value to it. There's no sentimental. And that's the problem is everything that is going on right now is definitely pure evil. There's no doubt about that. No one can deny it. And so you have to have the faith and stand strong with God. But at the same time, we have to be doing our actions also. Excuse me, losing my voice. And so it's it just keeps coming back to me over and over. How do I fight this? It's not a
Yeah.
fight. It's more like a um it,
For
it's just standing up for your rights. Period.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's gonna take everybody doing it. If it's just a few, we've seen what happens. And even J6, there had to be 1 million people there. There were thousands. It was huge. If y'all saw any of the videos, you know that it was huge. And so we can't let that keep controlling us, though. We can't keep thinking that if we do anything, we're going to go to jail. And and is it worth it? I mean, when I look at those protest videos from way back in the 60s, 70s, a lot of them did get arrested. And I guess that's where it comes to, how much would you do for your country? How much are you willing to give up for your country? Not my children and my grandchildren, but me, you know, or that they need me because I'm the one teaching them and guiding them through right now. And so it's tough. I know it's tough for everybody. It's like, and so what do? We just keep on trying to build up our communities around us, trying to get people together that are going to be the same mindset as us. They're not willing to give up everything for whatever they want. It's not about them. It there has to come a point where it ends and we say it's not about you anymore. It's about us. And what they've done to this country is just so ugh. I mean,
But when we're willing to put our young men and women in harm's way where they can lose their lives in foreign countries, when that war comes to this country, which it is right now, shouldn't we also stand up and maybe have to give our lives for what's right? Or is it just somebody else's responsibility to put up their life for
and
what's
that's what I'm
right?
afraid it's going to come down to. And yes, I have said that that's what I told them when they asked me about the draft way back. I said, no, these kids are not mentally prepared to go. And you know how it goes, George. It's first ones in, they're just gone. And so, no. And I said, but if it came here, I would be right out there.
It
And but
is here. It is here.
is
We're
it?
at war here. There's no doubt about where we're at. We're up against. This evilness is war. There's no waiting for any war to come. It's here.
Right, but then you don't want to be a martyr either. You
Who's going
you
to
know,
marty you? Who's going to really give a shit? It's about what you want for your family, what you're willing to do. It's what you want for your community. It's what you want around you in your life.
I think,
And that doesn't make a martyr.
yeah, and
I mean,
then
this martyr bullshit is for the birds. I mean, it's a belief system in what you believe. You mean, I mean, you're not willing to sacrifice your life for God, or maybe even go through some hard times. You
um,
got to ask yourself, is he worth it or not?
yeah, yeah. One of the headlines I saw today that gas is going to go down under $3 a gallon, but they didn't say anything about the food. So you're going to pay more for your dozen eggs than you are your gas. Kind of crazy, huh? Hey, Eddie, good to see you.
Saudi Arabia is supposed to be cutting back on fuel. That'll make prices go up.
Mm-hmm.
and I just, we keep saying this is a spiritual war, and I agree it is, first and foremost. Probably every war has always been that way too, as far as I know. But so I mean, with that being said, I really have a hard time, uh, you know, gathering behind any flag, regardless of what it is. As far as my allegiance goes, it's with God and God alone. And we've seen these flags misused, and you know,
Yes, and
so
thank you, Pussycat. That's good.
I don't disrespect it by any means. Don't get me wrong. Don't, I'm not one of those guys, but I'm not falling for that trick again. Patriotism, nope. Sorry, guys. Faith, I'll stand any man. I don't care. Standing on faith is my brother or my sister. That's different.
Well, most
It's a
people that
spiritual
go for
war.
that kind of crap are armchair quarterbacks when it's during football season. So, I mean, they're not willing to do anything themselves. They just, you know, wave a flag and, there's no patriotism. No.
Right?
The evilness is
Put it on
here.
the 4th of July.
The fight is here now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're scared, you're scared. I mean, what can I say? God
Yeah,
says not to be scared. I mean, but you're
don't be
the
scared.
only one. And that's what I hate about these people. Say, oh, just people. If you're afraid, then you're afraid, not I.
But
But you want to
still,
claim that I'm the one.
the main thing is to look out for our neighbors too. Like, however far that neighbor spans is like Benjamin. If his rent goes up again, he's homeless. That's not right. And darn it, Benjamin, I don't know why you have to live so far away.
But we can't live in that fear, right? We know that if that were to happen, there's I'm not volunteering anybody, right, or whatever. However, there's things he could do to reach out and get help from us, for example, from this community, right?
Yes.
I'm just saying, I'm not volunteering anybody. I'm not saying nothing about it, but so I'm not, those kinds of things will always happen. Like anything as far as, gas prices, we're talking about changing, rent changes, food changes, all these things. And those are the tools they use to activate those fear monsters in our mind, right? And we were just about to go there in this great fear that our brother might end up homeless, instead of standing in the faith of knowing, the waymaker will make a way. That's where I'm at, right?
Yes.
They'll put you where you're made to be, right?
Yeah. It might be the best thing that ever happened to this guy. I'm just saying, don't be scared. Head on, head first, you know. And I'm not even saying it'll get to that. I'm sure you'll be just fine. I'm not putting that out, they're like that. Just saying, that's what they use to get to those monsters in our mind activated. And in reality, God always makes a way, especially for his children, right?
Absolutely.
You're lucky you
And
weren't thrown in the lion's den. You would be scared, right?
Say that again.
That's a good thing you weren't thrown into the lion's den. You might be scared.
Boy, ain't that something? The furnace.
The story of being thrown into the lion's den.
Yeah, man, or the furnace. Those are the kinds of stories, when you tell children, it sticks with them,
yeah.
And even though it's not a literal lion's den or a literal furnace, the concept's there as an adult when it's time, for them to act, right? Because that's one of the difference I would say between childhood and adulthood is, as a child, you're learning how to act, and as an adult, you're doing it. You're acting right. You have good character, right? And all that stuff's supposed to be cultivated, and we're seeing they're cultivating some pretty bad seeds.
So what I'm trying to say is, if you're thrown into the lion's den, like the story in the book, what was the answer to the question? Was it fear, or was it faith?
Confidence.
Fear had no part in it. It was only faith.
Yeah, I've been seeing where the RV parks are getting absolutely ridiculous. Like what we used to pay for rent for a house, they're having to pay for this little space that usually doesn't even have a shade tree or anything. Won't allow them to grow anything.
That's where the world's going. They want to put everybody in a little box in the cities.
Yes.
And the people in the cities will be all for it. And the people in the cities are wanting people in the rural areas to come join them, because then people in rural areas will be the bad ones.
Well, that may be what they need to go through to come humbly, right?
Well, it's so.
As long as that's how they're coming, is humbly and not with malice and hate in their heart, looking to take and destroy. Right? I have no problem sharing this planet with anybody, whatever faith, as long as you're not out to kill me, right? Jesus said to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. It's not that difficult for me anyway. I mean, it is difficult. It's easy to say, right? But in practice, it's different. However, the concept is easy for me to conceptualize, right? So even though you're my neighbor, you have a different perspective or whatever. I know I have faith in God that you're living your life, I'm living your life. If I'm living my life as an example, he'll lead you, my neighbor as my neighbor to the right way, right? I'm not worried about that. However, we realize that there's some folks that are just out to straight kill us and throw us in the lion's den, throw us in the furnace.
Yes. And then
Hello, everybody.
I meet
How is everybody?
doing pretty good. How are you?
Another day, another week, not going as planned, but that's trucking for you, just the way it goes.
Yep.
I'd be shocked if it ever did go according to plan. I'd be like, what happened?
It's too calm. Something's up. Isn't that funny how we all think that when it's calm, it's like,
What I forget, right? That's always my
yeah,
mannerism is
what's,
for me.
what's
Well,
happening?
I mean, although to be fair, with the way things are going right now, I'm amazed something hasn't popped off already. To be honest,
Yeah.
because I know they were just a bunch of people putting videos out about in September the UN is trying to do another uh, peace and security meeting where
The
they're going to do
summit.
a 7-year deal for to have it all done by 2030.
Yeah.
It's almost like I read that in the book somewhere once. I
Their
think
plan is running right on schedule, guys. You have to almost give them credit for that. I mean, they're by their book and they stick to it. We need to kind of take a lesson from them on that. We need to stick by our book and enact our plan as accordingly. That
right.
they're clicking right
Well,
along. They got 2025 on lock. That
what?
was one of their big ones. You saw what they did in
Yeah. No, I
2020.
mean
They
I'll give them
came,
credit. They
yeah.
definitely stick to their plan. I'll give them kudos for that. But I've read the end of the book. I know who wins.
Well,
Yeah.
then,
But on a more serious note, though, just the way things are setting up right now, everything is pointing between now and 2026. Of course, and there's the agenda for 2030, and then they're talking all this peace and security stuff in September. Which, for anyone who's done any time studying eschatology, to use a fancy dancy word, um,
You'll have to dumb
knows
that down for the folks like me. I'm not sure what that means.
that is a fancy way of saying end time Bible prophecy.
I understand that. Okay. Sorry.
I'm
What was the
pretty
word
no
again?
eschatology.
Eschatology.
It's the
Thank
study
you.
of end times.
Okay.
Basically, is more or less what it translates to. I'm not a theologian or anything. I'm just a guy in a truck who likes to study things.
I thought you were talking about Eskimos for a second, is all.
No, 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 no. George is closer to the Eskimos than us, so you know. Um, but the way everything's shaping up, yeah, between now and 2026, it could really start popping off. But heck, for that matter, it could pop off between now and September. Who knows?
I'm gonna go out, I'll come back in and see if that makes a difference on my browser.
Okay.
thank you, George. I know I hate it that he can't talk. Yeah, um, I think I heard the 11th through the 13th, but you're right, Patrick Lee. And so that's where I'm like, okay, I know God's plan and I know what it says in the Bible, but
Right.
I'm just not real sure that it's the end times, not yet.
Well, the
And so,
reason. Sorry, go
so
ahead. Finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
it's
Sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
So if there's a book that has this plan that they've been doing all along, then couldn't they make it coincide with the Bible to make us think that? Or,
They could, but most of them are just following orders that come down the totem pole. They're not that involved into thinking per se. Not to say that some don't. The way I look at it is like this: when I say end times, I'm referring to basically from 1948 when Israel became a state. That
mhm,
really kicked off into 49-ish, depending on what you go by. When they became a nation, that started the countdown on the prophetic clock, as it were, towards the second coming, as I believe, of Christ. If you believe that way, cool. If not, that's fine. You do you. Um, Counting down towards that second coming.
mhm,
So whether it's in 2030 or 2033 or somewhere in between. No idea, but just having studied enough of what's there, you have all these increased events that are described in Matthew and other places in Revelation of earthquakes get more and more frequent. You have all kinds of hurricanes and other storms rampaging across the planet in an increasingly alarming frequency, I might add.
But we also know that weather manipulation can do that.
Right, but the Bible, when it says that the sign to look for is an increased convergence of all these signs happening at the same time. All these signs have been happening for a long time, whether it's weather manipulation or natural.
Yes.
It's been happening for a long time. But only in the last, say, 20, 30 years has the intensity, the frequency of those events gotten stronger and more frequent. And you're even starting to see signs of what's described in the seven seals and the vials and everything. You're starting to see little hints and foreshadows of that now. Case in point, the Euphrates River drying up. Not completely, but it's pretty close. That's mentioned, I think, about halfway through Revelation, maybe a little bit further.
Yeah. The only thing that concerns me about that is my high school friend. Mm-hmm. She's been canning, she's been fermenting, she's been growing, she's been doing all the stuff.
Sure.
She's on it. But she'll sit there, I'm waiting for Jesus. And I'm like, she's healthy, she's strong, she's not old. We're not old. And so it's almost like, don't do that though. Don't just like lay down and wait.
Well, no, you're definitely not supposed to just lay down and wait. What we're told to do is occupy and redeem the time. Simply put, you're supposed to keep busy and still be about his business while you're still here.
Yes, there's something about our works.
Sorry, say that again. What about the works?
There's something about our works that it's not. I don't know. I'm getting all confused.
Well, because I know there are some people that think that doing a lot of good deeds is what gets you saved or will get you into heaven. That's not the case at all. Doing good works,
no,
is a sign that you're changed. And then you just continue to do it because you want to, because you're a different person. Once you started,
it's impossible to do good. I've read it in the Bible. I've discovered it by trying to do good. I think basically what it comes down to is you do what you can. I mean, and what I'm getting to is, there's a passage in the Bible where basically someone talks to Jesus and says he is good, and he rebukes them. He says there's no good, only the Father is good.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, we need to. I need to keep that in mind, because like I'm ambitious in that sense to help, right? Like I hurt when I see other people hurt, right?
Sure.
And I have to remember that it's one thing for them to be in a place of hurting and come to me for help. They're ready to receive, right? But it's another thing for me to see them hurting and them not ready to come to me for help, and they still suffer and they suffer, and I go to them, my help is not received, right?
Right.
It's cast aside, it's taken wrongly, whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, and to your point, I'll just briefly say that's where discretion and the Holy Spirit comes in. That's why it's best to have, in my opinion, a
I agree.
relationship with Christ, so that you'll know when to act and when not to.
Yes.
Now that
Correct.
takes a lot of timing and listening.
And that's what
Uh,
when I ask for obedience, because that's what my goal is. I realize like I can't do any good. I can do nice things. I could be a good guy or a nice
right.
guy, I should say, whatever. We use these words
Hmm.
jokingly or whatever. We're just talking here. I get it.
Right.
But it's one thing to have that mindset, and it's another for me, which I'm trying to have more of, is being obedient to the Holy Spirit, being obedient to God and the word that he's given us, and
Right.
acting accordingly more so than, oh, I think it'd
Well,
be nice to do this. And it is. Sometimes that's what you're called to, that's what you feel compelled to do, and you should act on those, right? There's other
sure.
times when
Absolutely.
I feel myself wanting to do something and it's really not necessarily for any benefit, just other than my own. And that's pretty much
Right. And there's,
worthless.
well, to an extent it is, but at the same time, if you feel like you want to do something nice and you're able to, why not? I mean, it's not going to hurt anybody.
Well, and that's so what is considered works, because like
Well,
there was one of them in the Bible that his works meant nothing. Like I think Ronan just said it a while ago, and so love thy neighbor.
hmm
I think is where that is going, is if you have an overabundance of something to help your neighbor, that's what we
yeah,
should be doing.
yeah.
Is
And then that just ties into reaping and sowing. What you sow, you will reap.
helping others
Right.
in whatever way
Well,
we can, whether it's physically or financially or
yeah. The help, the way
lovingly,
I've found.
just being there for somebody and listening to them.
Right. Stupid, stupid bumps.
I think
Um,
that's like the most precious thing we have to offer people
I
is
was gonna say
our time. Yeah.
time. Yeah, time is very important. Once it's gone, you don't get it back. So how you spend it matters. But to simplify the question as far as works go, it's not so much what you do; it's the intent behind what you do. If you're doing it because you think it's gonna get you into heaven, that's not how that works.
No, it has
But
to be a heartfelt.
if you're if God or the Holy Spirit says, "Hey, I want you to go over there, buy that guy a Coke and a burger," and you go over and you buy him a Coke and a burger, you did what you were supposed to do.
Yes, but it needs to be heartfelt also, not just a commandment,
Yep,
right?
and
Right,
we're all hitting exactly right on it. It's done out of obedience, right? Because once you feel that in you, you feel compelled to do that. You're obedient to it, and you do it,
right,
right?
absolutely,
We're
yeah,
all dead on, I believe.
yeah.
Well, when God's army that David led on the battlefield, where does love thy neighbor fall in? Or love thy enemy?
Well, that's a good
Well,
point.
where does that fall in
Well,
when
so
God's army took lives right here on this planet?
Well,
When his
that
army
as
of
far as
David.
the David armies, when David was king and he was running the
Well, what I'm
army,
saying is, what I'm saying is where does love thy enemy stop and or begin and end?
Yes, that's
well, and that's what I was going to somewhat attempt to answer. I think that ends because in the instance you were describing with David and his armies, God had told him, say, go over here and do this. And he went over and did it. And in
And
most
God
of the
ain't telling
cases,
you to do something. I know He's telling you to do something. I shouldn't word it like that, but I
no,
mean,
no, I get what you're
I
trying to
mean,
say. And
God's going to tell each one of us what our job is in this.
well, the thing is he may not necessarily tell you what your job is because then we have a tendency as human beings to get ahead of ourselves and put the cart ahead of the horse. So in my case, just as an example, since you mentioned it, excuse me, what ends up happening is he'll give me the next step, one step at a time. So I want you to go here and do this, or leads me to the next step, whatever that might be. And as frustrating as that is, I just have to try to listen and be obedient and do the next step. And when it's time to move, I try to listen and figure it out and do the next step.
So,
And
oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
no, I'm just coughing. So go ahead.
I just looked up that verse where it refers to love your enemy, you know,
Hmm.
and it's in red letters, right? So Jesus said this in the Bible, and I can read it real quick if you want me to, Bonnie. I don't know if.
Yes, please.
All right, so it starts at 43. I'm going to read this whole paragraph. It says, "You have heard it said." I'm going to start over. You have heard that it is said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends the rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what are you doing more than others? Do not Gentiles do the same?
Yep.
So, I mean, for me, that the last two sentences or whatever, really kind of what hits home. It's like, yeah, I mean, if the armies that were led by King David were led before Jesus, where I'm standing now is that Jesus is my king, right? Before any other ruler of this land, whatever, none of it. Like, I got nothing to do with them. The governments are all, they all put in God we trust, right? Their trust, all that stuff. So they already put their foundation on this Jesus, right? And that's who my king is, right? So the armies that were led by David at that time had their direction and their law according to God when Jesus came and flipped the law over, basically, right? We we have
But
a different perspective. We have a different point of view now. And to me, when I read, like, it's he's right. It's like tax collectors do the same thing. You might as well say politicians do the same thing. We see it. The Democrats and the Republicans, they duke it out supposedly to each other. Then they go behind closed door. They shake hands, have a beer, light up a stogie, and tell all kinds of whatever stories to each other. Right? They're all the same. They don't come in with us, right, to reach us and do for us in that sense. So it's really interesting to see that directive from Jesus, right? So and it is difficult because we do have this enemy that is hard on to get us, right?
hmm
However, we're still standing on the fact that this is a spiritual war. For us, it hasn't gone kinetic, right? And pray to God it never does. And as long as perhaps, maybe just perhaps, that we're standing on this, as long as we do that long enough, I don't know, but maybe it won't get to that level. Part of me thinks this is just a showing and we have a choice. And there's probably more to be shown, like that movie that's come out. We've known about these child trafficking things for so long. And finally, there's a mainstream movie out that puts what we've been talking about for years now in the faces of those who've called us lunatics, right? So
Yes.
there's more showing, there's more choosing. And in doing so, perhaps maybe we're staying away and avoiding that kinetic situation we don't want to be in, but everyone kind of keeps talking about. And in this time, the enemy is showing their hand. They're going to try everything, right? They've tried the lockdown, all the BS. And I'm totally with Bonnie when she's talking about the weather manipulation stuff. It wouldn't be beyond them to drain a river. They'd try it. They'd try anything. We know about the
well,
dumps. We know about
they don't
their
even have to manipulate the
shenanigans.
weather. But as far as drying up the Euphrates, there's a dam north of where it runs through Iraq, where all I got to do is just shut the doors on the dam and not let any water out, and it'll completely dry it up on demand.
Well, if you're a Christian, if you can't tell that your back is against the door right now, there's something wrong. Because God's been taken out of everything.
As a Christian,
So
our back's been up.
our backs are against the wall.
They've
I mean,
always been since Jesus was crucified. Look, we talked about the
yeah.
fiery furnaces, the lion's den. It's always been our situation. Why do you think there's no Christians in the
And
Middle East?
and
The Muslims
and it
killed them
goes
all.
back further than that.
Yep,
It
exactly.
goes back to, the 12 tribes. It
Yes.
goes back farther than that.
You're darn right about that. Yeah, I agree. I didn't even think that far back, but you're right.
I mean,
Every war has been about religion in some one form or another.
more or less, Abel and Cain started. That's where the 12 tribes broke away from, right there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's.
two brothers.
But our back, if you're a Christian, your back is against the wall right now. Remember, you're already considered a terrorist from this government. You have
Yep.
since 2001.
Yep.
So
They labeled them domestic terrorists. You got, I think it was either California or Michigan. There was a few places trying to basically. California's trying to ban Bible. Would essentially a law that would essentially ban the Bible. Um, Michigan is trying to do something with speech related, free speech related.
well,
I think.
it's with gender. If you can go to prison for not calling some dude a she if that's what they
Yeah,
want.
yeah, yeah. The pronouns. You're right. That's what it is. I stand corrected. The pronouns.
Sorry,
So yeah,
if you're hanging, you're a dude.
right.
Pardon?
Absolutely. He said if you got a twig and berries, you're a guy. Period. End of
You had
story.
If you had it cut off, you're a dude with had it cut off. I'll call it just what it is. I'm not going to run from it.
Right. But even if they cut it all off, your genetic makeup still says you're a man.
Right.
Period.
No,
End of
that's what I
story.
said. You're a dude with your thing cut off.
Yep,
Still
you're
a
an
dude.
idiot, is what you really are. Dumbass, if you ask
Right.
me.
They
Sorry.
can do free castrations. I'm joking. Didn't say that. Amy's asking, who do you think the two witnesses will be?
I don't know.
I lean personally, just my personal 2 cents. I lean towards Moses and Elisha, but it could be there's only two people in Scripture who were ever translated up to heaven that didn't die. So I think there's a good chance it could be those two people. Which one was Elijah, and I think the other was Enoch.
Yeah, Enoch, you're right. Yep, I remember those two. And
Those two were translated to heaven. They never died. So it's either Enoch and Elijah, or it could be Moses, maybe, and Elijah. But I would go for the two guys who never died.
so do you
Although,
think that, so you're saying they already came? That already happened?
no, no,
Oh, I mean,
that's ludicrous. No, that's like some of the
well,
people who are
I
saying the seals of Revelation have already been opened and we're partway through the. No, 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 no.
I must
You're
have
reading the.
misunderstood. I'm sorry. I thought, so from my understanding, maybe I don't know, but from my understanding,
Excuse me.
the two witnesses are going to be two people that are witnessing in Jerusalem.
Yes,
They're going
correct.
to hate them, basically. I don't
Try and
remember
kill them.
exactly. Yeah, and then
The
they
long and short
can't.
of it is they're going to preach for a set amount of time during the final 7 year tribulation,
Yep.
which is started by a peace accord with many for 7 years. Once that accord is made,
Once
it,
the
it,
third temple is put up, which they have ready, that they can put
well,
up in 6 months.
So
I
then I
think
guess my
I,
question is, how can Elijah and Enoch be the two witnesses if the third temple hasn't been built and the Antichrist hasn't
well,
declared himself God
Well,
yet?
that has to take place first.
that's because things are still being restrained because the church is still here.
And where does he walk into the temple at? What country? The same
Well,
country that
the
put my
temple is
Lord
going to
and Savior
be
on the cross?
right. It's going to be in Israel, of course, on the Temple Mount. More than likely, the popular theory is some kind of sharing arrangement where the temple on one side and the dome of the mosque on the other. More than likely, that's how that'll go. Um, but it just says Dana 927 just says a covenant with many. It doesn't mention any specific
Yeah, they went
countries.
straight to heaven. They didn't die. Amy was saying that. I remember that now that you mentioned it. And that's kind of where I think people were mentioning Enoch and
Elijah.
Elijah.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I don't know. And I don't like to, like,
No, and I don't know either. Which is
yeah,
why I said it's speculation,
right.
because I really don't know. But
I know we'll know someday or one day.
yeah, someday
Yeah.
you'll find out. Personally, I'm taking the first boat out.
And
Y'all can
that's
stick
like,
around if you want.
that's something that um, there's this book that I read in high school. It's called The Land Remembers. It's actually a really great read. It's by an author named Ben Logan, who was
Hmm.
actually my neighbor growing up. And it's about him and his family living on a farm in Wisconsin back in the old days. And it's a really great story. But long story short, what I'm getting to with that is in that book, his mom says something along the lines of, there's just some questions that we're not supposed to answer. We don't have the answer to, and
Right.
basically we just make something up, and that's worse, right? So for me, it's like that's where I'm standing now, is I don't know. And I don't, as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to know. I already have my salvation. The end times might come after my end date. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well,
And
I
that
mean,
all
yeah,
that's for naught.
we're not guaranteed our next breath, so it could be,
Right.
you could be gone in the next 2 minutes, or you could be here for another 100 years.
Oh, I don't know about 100 years.
Well, I'm just throwing you wild numbers.
Maybe in the stories.
You, you,
They'll tell stories of me.
Man, I don't know if I could take 100 more years of this shit.
I couldn't either. When I was younger, I used to say, "Oh, I'll start with 100, because the Bible mentions a man's day is 120 years in the Old Testament. So I'll start with 120 and we'll go from there. But now that I'm a little bit older, a little bit smarter, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm ready to check out. Let's go. Let's get this party started. Um,
Goodness. I know a lady, she just celebrated her 101st birthday and she is still spry as can be.
No.
yeah, there are some of them 100-year-olds. They're still sharp as a tack and get out around and do what they got to do.
Yep. Still puts on makeup every day. She's still has her hair done. She'll never change. She loves bingo. And
Probably the
she'll
most.
set you straight in 2 seconds flat.
Yeah, them older folks tend to have a tendency to do that.
Yep.
Of course, their filter usually goes away by then too.
Yep. And it seems like it's the ones that are always keeping busy and doing stuff that are healthier.
Yeah,
Yes.
typically. Or, well, at least that appears to be the case anyway.
Hey, honk.
They won't let me die because both sides are afraid I will take over. Hey, Hawk. It sounds like you're stuck here forever. That's worse. That's purgatory of sorts, I guess.
I don't know, but either way you slice it, with all the craziness going on, there's not much time left.
What's crazy is
Whether
how it's been in front of our faces for our whole lifetime and we don't see it. That's
well,
what's crazy. That
that
it's
is the
been there
crazy
all
part.
this time and now people are just starting to see some things, but they don't
Well,
want to see how bad it really is. I mean,
as you're well aware, George, the best place to hide things is in plain sight, because if you're not
right,
focused on it, you don't see it.
right.
And they're perfectly content with their comfort and safety, and that's all there is for them.
I'm done for that.
You know, a while ago, y'all were talking about
Not
the
me.
temple and everything, and
Hmm.
okay, but so Israel has banned Christianity pretty much. Isn't that
Yep.
correct?
Well, they were trying to. I don't know if they've
Okay.
completely succeeded, but they're in that process. Yeah.
And so then Amy asked, do you think the U.S. is the Sodom and Gomorrah?
I think the U.S.
Gomorrah.
There's a high probability, in my personal opinion, and this is just my opinion. I don't know for a fact. It's just a guess. I think the U.S. is Mystery Babylon, referred to in Revelation, that gets destroyed in 1 hour.
It's an experiment that went bad. I can tell you that.
Well, and that's, I want to point out something that she said U.S., not this land per se. I want to point out that
Right.
difference between that the corporation and
No,
what we
right. But
perceive as we the people.
Here's the
You know.
difference, though. Most of the Bible prophecy, after a certain point, is focused on the Middle Eastern area and the kings coming from the east a little bit later. As it happens, just by, I'm sure, by sheer coincidence, North and South America is exactly 1/3 of the Earth's landmass. And I seem to recall reading somewhere in Revelation about 1/3 of the landmass is burnt.
Why is it got to be us? I suppose, like, you know what I mean? Like, look, here's my thing.
I'm not saying.
I know you're right. Your math is probably dead on. I don't know. I'm not. You know, I didn't.
I don't know if my math is
my
on.
thing
Sometimes
is
I'm
like,
a little
you
off.
know,
But
of all the countries in this, or all the lands, I will say, on this globe or flat Earth, whatever you subscribe to, I will be either way.
Right.
I'm fine with it. All right. So it's like this land here was founded. In elementary school, we were taught about the pilgrims that came over. They had Thanksgiving, right? It wasn't war. They came over here because of their religious persecution of them choosing to follow specifically Jesus Christ, right?
mm-hmm.
So they came here in pursuit of that, and they founded it. And then in time, this U.S. corporation took over and declared war on the natives, and everything went to shit real quick, it seemed like. And everything from then is pretty much, I think, and before then, we all know it's all lies and, you know, half truths and all this stuff. However, of all the land and all whatever it is, why would God destroy the section that was like, we're literally trying to, you know, the Bible says, leave her, my people, get out of Babylon. Like, they were literally doing that. They got on boats, right? And they're never looking back, right? None of, you know, they went to this land where they can worship God, have their faith in Jesus Christ. However, whether they're Puritans or Quakers or whatever, they got along. And it kind of seemed like they got along with the natives too, even though we know they weren't following the same religion these folks were. But something happened there. So why of all the places,
because we're becoming a godless nation. God lifts his hands off of God of evil. We're becoming a godless nation. We're losing it. And and all you're doing is seeing the repercussions of not having God in our system no more. That's not what it is.
Yep.
Right, but we're still here. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, we're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be here to fight this shit. And I don't mean to get out there with guns. I mean to stand up for what is right. There's more of us than there are of them. It's what people don't understand. But if we keep waiting and waiting and waiting, all they're going to do is keep flooding us with every Tom, Dick, and Harry they can find across the world that wants $1, which is, these people are being used too. These people are not going to get out of jail card free when this shit goes down. They're just being used.
Yes.
Right.
Their religion's being used against them. Everything's being used against them.
Yeah. Well, and I want to, like, because we were talking about like the immigrants and stuff, like what was going on in Europe and then what's going on here. I just kind of want to point out that I know that there's all kinds of people from really all different, I think they said over 100 some countries already that they've caught coming over the border illegally and all this. However, from my understanding, in the most part, Mexico and a lot of the South American countries are Christian or Catholic nations. They're of the faith of Jesus Christ at some whatever, right? They're not, you know. So it seems to me like some of the things that are happening in Europe, where it's the clash of those religions, right here, unless it's like a straight up lie and or whatever, I there is that difference. The folks that are coming over that border, even though they're doing it illegally and stuff, typically they've come from some sort of Christian based home or community, right?
Well,
When the Pope
if
comes
you
to
look
this,
at a nation, but you don't know if that's what's coming here.
oh, it's the riffraff. Absolutely, they probably
Yeah.
have. I'm not pretending to,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
it's that
they,
aspect of it, though.
but yeah, most countries were Christian countries, but even they're changing too. We're not the only one on this planet. Every Western country, this is happening to. Every Christian
Yes.
country, Western country that used to be Christian, this is happening in. It's being done deliberately. Really
Yeah,
is.
Yep.
and we're not the okay. Just because we're just because we're the capital of human trafficking doesn't mean that we're the worst country on the planet. You know what I mean? Because
We're the strong arm
everybody
of
got
it. We're the strong arm of it right now.
what's that?
We always have been. So if you're saying going around the world killing innocent people, that's not bad. I'm
Well,
telling you, we are
well,
bad, and you
okay.
better
Well,
just keep it and
this
call
is
it what it is. You want
okay,
to justify killing people is we're the best nation on the planet when we're the ones killing millions around this planet and have since 1948.
okay. Now I'm not going to argue with that, except for a certain point was the public of America did not know the deception in which the government had been involved in. Okay, and this is the big thing, you know. We all that those of us who've been waking up over these years and really seeing the world for what it is and the governments for what they are. Okay, we have to understand that there's a large form of manipulation going on. You know, because I as a Marine, okay, the things that I saw, okay, I understood by the time I got home that things in my life were never ever going to be the same again. I would never see my country or I would see my country's people as what I remembered, but I would never see my government as the government that I remembered as a kid. You know what I mean? Because of the deception, the level of deception that has gone on between all the world governments. Because it's not just, just because our country is the one who sends the soldiers there to do the war. What people don't realize is that there are so many nations involved in getting these things accomplished that, and sitting at that head table saying, yeah, we need to take out this one, and this one. Don't worry, we're going to split the riches. Okay. Trump said it himself. He said, to the victor goes the spoils. Okay. So if we've won all these wars, where in the hell are the spoils? Well, the spoils has been distributed between all the countries that were involved in all this hoopla that's been going on. Because if the spoils came to our country, we wouldn't need to invade other countries. Because you look at Iraq, the riches of Iraq were outstanding. Even the riches of Afghanistan, even though the majority of the people lived in a specific amount of poverty, okay, in most cases, that is the only life that they've ever known. They've never known about the ability to build a big house, to furnish it and everything else. They've grew and lived in their set ways. Okay. Now, America, because of the influence that we've had, okay, that our government has had, not our people. Okay. Because when it boils down to it, the majority of the people never wanted people going to war to begin with.
True.
So if we look at it in the proper context, America is not necessarily the worst country in the world. However, we do have the highest number for where it comes to trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking. Okay, hey, we have the highest number for. I just rolled my wheel of my chair over somebody's tail. They weren't happy about it. You know, but when you look at all these different things and you begin to understand the soldiers that went and fought, the soldiers, sailors, Marines that went and fought in all these wars were duped.
I'm not blaming the ones that went to fight in the war. I'm blaming the ones that are letting them send them to war.
Yeah. There's absolutely.
Well,
we can't,
here's the thing. You're
blame
saying,
the entire nation
because
for
of
that.
our ignorance, we didn't know. Try that one when you stand at God's feet on Judgment Day. Well, I didn't know. Well, it's because you didn't want to know.
But at the same time, aren't we, I would say more people in this country are following Jesus in the Word than any of the other countries. They're more.
Really? Why?
I wouldn't say that.
I would say they claim to follow Jesus, because if they
Right.
actually followed Jesus, we wouldn't be murdering millions of unborn children every single year since the '60s.
Well, and that's it.
Just my thought.
And
If we were such a
see, now
great
that's
nation,
where the
we
devil
wouldn't
comes
be
creeping in.
number 47 in education, the worst healthcare system of any industrialized nation. We wouldn't fought World War I and World War II with communists at our sides.
And that was by design.
We wouldn't have lied about the Gulf of Tonkin. We wouldn't have lied about weapons of mass destruction.
Well, and that's a good point. I think kind of what like Hawk was talking about, like, so you've been around, obviously, I'm not trying to be a smart ass or anything, but you've been around a lot longer. You've been wiser the ways of the world way before I was, right? I got to school, they started with their brainwashing and indoctrination. I had to do good in their exams and history and all this stuff, right? So by the time I came to truth, here we are. Here I am, here you are, right? Like, you've known this shit for years, probably longer than I've been alive. I'm 38, right? For example.
But the same period.
But there comes to a point where
put the paradigm into place for me are the same people putting the paradigm into place now. Same people that, if people can't break out of this paradigm of the one that they were put into, they're not going to see the big picture.
Yeah.
We've all been put in a paradigm. It's just when you're wanting to break out of that paradigm.
Exactly. Right. And I realized it is a contract. Like, there has to be that, in a contract, you need three things: offer, acceptance, and consideration. I went to paralegal school, I can tell you that for a fact, right? As far as they're concerned. However, in a contract, if there's fraud or mistake or any of these things, those contracts can be voidable. I can still hold you to it if you're the perpetrator of the fraud, and it's still to my benefit. I could say, F you, I'm holding you to your contract. Or I could say not, right? Like, at that point, when it's brought to my attention, I have the option to say no, right? And that's what I did when I realized, holy moly, it is a really big, it's a ruse. It's all BS. Even their words aren't legit. Like, learning this stuff in paralegal school, I was like, are you kidding me? I learned about common law, policy and statute, statutory law, these kinds of things. It started to kind of like, get to the point where I realized, okay, I'm saying no. I no longer agree to contract with you, period. End of discussion. I'm here to live because God gave me life, not my choice, right? I had nothing to do with that, but here I am, because God wanted me to be here. That's it. And as far as anybody else is here, they're here for the same reason, but not to rule over me, because Jesus is my king. We kind of talked about that, right? But I said no to that contract. It was shown to me that it was fraudulent. They lied, right? The weapons of mass destruction, all that bullshit. We know it, all BS. So I said no. I no longer agree to contract with you, right? So there is that aspect of it. We have to say that. We have to realize that.
Who's got the time bomb?
That's going off.
No. It's my seatbelt. I'm trying to find a place to park, and I undid my seatbelt. You're good. It was just a seatbelt alarm saying, "Hey, stupid, you unplugged your seatbelt." Well, I'm in a parking lot trying to park a truck. So yeah.
I think it comes down to what we were talking about last night is God has given us free will. Satan was given free reign. And so is he taking advantage of that? Like, yes. It's
Absolutely.
visible all around us. Um, the the temple that was built here in Texas. I don't know where it is. Wish I did. Well, I think it's in Plano. Never been there. That's a long ways away. Um, but so there's one of my goals. Um, Even as a child, I knew that satanic rituals were going on out in the cedar break. Didn't know exactly where or anything, but we heard about it. And so this has been going on for forever. Is that Satan reigns, even though we believe and know that God reigns, God is over all, but he has allowed this for this time. And
We've allowed this. He didn't. We allowed this. This is what people aren't getting, Ronnie. We allow this, not God. We allow this. Quit blaming that on God. We allowed this. Put the blame.
no, I'm not blaming it on him. I'm blaming it on the evil that
Yeah, but
is reigning the world right now.
we're the one that's manifesting it right now.
Well,
We are.
we're the one that are agreeing a contract to it, right? So like
Exactly.
the devil does have free reign to whisper in our ear to tell us all kind of whisper sweet nothings and get us thinking different ways and to do different things, right? But we have to agree to do that. We have to set those motions in action, right? He can't do that, right? He uses his minions or whatever. He lies to us. He does whatever. But we have to, and again, I guess I can come back to contracts, but ultimately we're saying, yes, okay, I'm going to do this, and we act on it. And that's why, even though he does maybe affect things beyond my comprehension, but as far as me and my actions, that's where I rely on the Holy Spirit, right? So even though,
Yes,
like, even in the story of Job, God was like, do whatever, you can't kill him, right?
that's where we need to be better than them. And but at the same time, we should be thinking ahead of them so that it's not. We should be two steps ahead. Why are we not? Why are we not? If from what I've heard in this community for the past 3 years, a lot of researching has been done. A lot of people have known everything that's going on. So why do we not have a plan or a counter for any of the evil that is coming at us now? How come that has not happened?
Well, the sad but unfortunate answer to that is enough people have not been willing to put in the hard work to make the necessary changes
The changes
to
in
run it
their life.
up the ladder.
And then it's
They-
that mentality of 300 million people saying, well, I'm just one person. What can I do?
right.
And let me tell you, people really get
Or
buried in that mentality.
or my
Yeah.
other favorite is, oh, I don't have to worry about it. Someone else will do it.
And so, but if our veterans all know what has been done to them, and they are the ones with the strategic minds and know how to deal with these things more than I would, for sure. What's up?
I don't know. You don't give yourself enough
And
credit, Bonnie.
well, I mean, I can do what I can do with my children and grandchildren, teaching them the ways that I was taught, and try and also spread that to the community that is around me. But as far as um, thinking out how to get ahead of this and stop it, that's where I'm like, I have a block.
That to me sounds so we know. Well, okay, let me slow down and start over here. We have the Bible and we read, and we've kind of been talking about the end times, and we know like crazy things are gonna happen, right? And we read of the prophecies and of the things that are going to happen, and I find like if this is the case, if we are in the end times, like who are we to think we're going to stop any of it? That's not
That's
how it
right.
works. We ain't going to stop none of it.
No, that's right.
You know, if it the best thing and the only thing that matters, in my opinion, is what you said, Bonnie, is teaching your kids, raising your children up the way the Bible teaches us to do it, passing that message on to them, and we trust in God that He's gonna, tend to them in a sense once they're out of the nest, if you will, right? Like we've planted those
Yes.
seeds in it. We know God's gonna cultivate something out of that in them, and that's the best and the only thing that matters. Could you imagine? Now it sounds like a small thing, right? Because you want to extend yourself out to the community, which I'm not saying you should, and that's not my point. But imagine if everybody did that. If everybody did that, there wouldn't be anyone to go against, right? If everybody in their homes sat down and raised their children the way the Bible teaches us, right? Which is good. It's a good way to live, regardless of anything else, right?
Yes.
There'd be no one to fight.
Well, and even, I mean, I'm not saying my kids are living it. They're kind of not, but the seed.
Well, that's just it. It's like there's the stuff that we learn in. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
There's the stuff like we get from religion that religion tells us not to do, right? Like drinking and smoking. Oh, you're a bad, like there's some denominations that will condemn you for that, right?
Hold on, time out. Religion is about show, all outward appearance only. It's more a better term I prefer to use is faith or relationship.
Right.
Because religion is just all external. Look at me. You have a really nice looking car on the outside, but on the inside, it's all rusted and falling apart.
Yep. And that's exactly my point, because we have religion and whispering telling us one thing, and then we read the Bible and we see how we connect with God directly. We don't need a preacher. We don't need a pastor. We don't need a pope. We don't need none of that. Because of Jesus Christ, He bridged that gap.
A gap. It does say that. That's true. You can do that directly to God, but it is nice to have fellowship with your fellow believers and get together and hang out and talk.
Absolutely.
And
that's there for you too. I'm not saying it's not. However, some of the condemnation I think we bring on ourselves in thinking these ways comes from the religion aspect versus from the actual gospel.
Sure.
I think we often forget how forgiving Jesus actually was. Now, I mean,
well, think
in
about
religion.
Think about this scenario, okay? When he was talking to the woman at the well, okay, she said to him, it's no matter where I go, I'm persecuted, and there was a time that that we could pray here, where Jacob had dug the well, because it was Jacob's well there, right? Okay. Well, and it was, at the, on a plateau of a mountain there, and Jesus, returned to her and said, listen, there's going to come a day where people will neither worship in Jerusalem or on that very mountain. And the woman said to him, well, then what do we do? And, that's when Jesus said that, it's your heart.
Yes.
Who does your heart belong to? Right. And if, no matter where you are, pray where you are.
Yes.
Okay. Now, it just so happens that if two or more are gathered in His name, then the prayer is a little bit more powerful. Okay. But that doesn't mean that your prayer is not being heard because of the fact that you're not in a group of people. There was another circumstance where He said to a group of people, it's better that you go into your room and close the door and have a conversation with your father, because everything else is for show.
Yes.
So, I believe it was the one with the clown picture there. I didn't catch your name before because we've had things up there, so I don't see any names there. You know, um, you
I
know,
don't know what
it, it's a lot of it is for show. A lot of it is so that they can gather riches into themselves, which are only benefiting themselves. You think about it, the churches with the amount of money, the Catholic Church alone, with the amount of money that the Catholic Church has raked in off of the people of this country, okay, they could have housed every single homeless, had them seen through counseling, and supported them until they were back into the work field. Okay, they've had riches beyond belief, but they don't. They don't. And their charities have so many requirements on them that it creates a suffering in the homeless communities, or the broken communities. And then it's just, fire, brimstone, and ferment, is basically, what you get. This is all your fault that you're in this situation.
It's like
Well,
George Carlin
no, I think
said,
the
God
devil might
hates
have had
you
a
and you owe
little something
money.
to do with it, What's that now?
It's like George Carlin said, God hates you and you owe money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
what,
And we are a debtor's country.
But I mean, the thing about money is,
Thank you, Kino.
it doesn't compel me, I should say. And I think once
I loves to garden.
we get over money, we'll all just be better off, really. I understand that. For me personally, in my heart, I think the worst thing that the Vatican and all those folks did is whatever they're hiding in those libraries from us, and whatever they're keeping in secret's probably worth more than any amount of gold or money you could get. I think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're just hearing the stories coming out of the Vatican in regards to what is held in those libraries, and the vaults down in the basement and everything else. That there's an altar to Satan in the basement that is used frequently. Okay. The shape of the big congorium, where the holy seat is, you know, it's you look at all these things and you begin to realize that these people do not have our best interest at hand, no different than our governments. Our governments do not have our best interest in hand as soon as they, step into office. Now they can act like it throughout the election and everything else, and while they're out there campaigning and all that. But when it boils down to it, as soon as they get to Satan's town, they belong to him, and they're doing his will, not the people's will or God's will. And those that do try to do God's will there are crushed, destroyed, discredited, defamed, and or killed.
Like almost always.
Yeah. Like 99.99% of the time.
Yep. And that's where you just keep on, because
You guys got me so excited now. I'm gonna have to light a bowl
Here.
and calm down. I like good-hearted conversation, and when we think of Christ and we think about what he did for us, the sacrifice that he made, because it didn't have to be that way. It didn't. But he was following his Father's plan. And Father has a plan for every single one of us.
Yep.
A lot of people are too afraid to ask him what that plan is. Stop being afraid.
I think most, or I shouldn't say it that way. I think a lot of people are afraid of losing their comfort and safety that this false world offers them. They like their toys, their boats, their cars, their houses, their nicely manicured lawns, and, you know, choosing whatever they want for dinner every night. You know, just go to the grocery store. You know what? Let's not even cook. Let's go out to a restaurant. We'll get steak and lobster, right? I think they're worried about losing that more so than anything else at this point. What else are you fighting for, in my opinion? You
Now,
know,
I love lobster, but I haven't had a lobster in like 12 years, 13 years.
there's nothing wrong with eating lobster. I'm not hating on lobster eaters. You know,
I think that they're a wee bit overpriced, you know, but
you know, it's the lazy boy warriors don't want to lose their seat, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
George, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, because I see two of you down there, so I guess you want me to show what this one?
And then come back. All right, this is the hierarchy of Satan's church. What they do is they get you to do the evil things, and you don't even know you're doing it. Are you a MAGA fan?
Not anymore. I know what that means now.
The fifth degree of Satanist, MAGA. They get you to do this shit, and you don't even see it.
Yep. But now that you know, you have the option to say no. I
Now
don't
that you
agree
know.
to that. Yep.
Or you can just come up with some excuse. All that doesn't mean that. Bullshit.
yeah, a lot of times they use one type of reference in order to build something up when the hidden meaning is like not revealed for 20, 30 years, you know? It's I totally see what you mean, you know?
And that's just it. It's like everything's double meaning with these folks. We need to learn our lesson a little better. Like all that crap, you know, anything they dish out at us, I guarantee it almost anymore. It's double meaning.
Well, what was interesting about that article that from the Satanic Church is that they push them to be news media people or celebrities or people in government to get them in the higher places, and that's how they rank up, is how many people they can fool or
Yeah.
get to follow them.
They recruit them through social societies and stuff in college, right?
Yes.
And then they offer them positions, and you know, you're at that point, you're a good old boy. As long as you tote the line, you got it made. You got no problems, right? And that's the problem. They're really good at it, and that's what they use, right? What else do they have? They have money and blackmail now. We notice there's a lot of like the honeypot traps and stuff like that we're starting to see come out, and things like that, blackmail and whatnot.
Operation Warp Speed.
Yep, but they get them, they recruit them in their secret societies, and yeah, they put them wherever they need them, pay them well, give them status in society, everything you want that the world offers, right? Because that's all they have. They don't have anything beyond that. I was listening to Ozzy Osbourne, War Pigs, but I found a video of like a really old one where he looks so young. It's like, wow, you almost don't recognize him, but it's undeniably him, you know. And I was watching him, and he looked like he was alive, you know, like he had life in him still. You look at him in the more, you know, modern stuff, and it's hollow.
He's Joe Biden.
Yeah, he's howling. You know what I mean?
You know, yeah. I mean, you look. You know. I remember when he first came out. Um, wow, I'm freaking old. Um, you know, but
Well, and
I
he,
remember when he first came out, and then it was, then it was these challenges between the bands. You know, it was like, and it was, it was the labels who were involved in that. You know, as to who can do the nastiest thing.
yeah, and
Who,
that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like something changing in me. Like you can kind of see a person's face, and you can kind of tell a little bit about them. And you just like I saw the youth in his face. That there's almost an innocence there. Like then the lyrics to that song are I think are pretty good, and for the most part, he's calling out the deep state as far as it sounds to me anyway. I don't know if there's hidden messages all the time. There's these things popping up that you don't know about until you hear about them, kind of a thing. But
yep.
so it seems like with all of these people from as far back as I can tell, something happens. They might have good intentions originally. They want to fight the system, but then as soon as they get a hit, or they get like a hit in the sense of like they sell a lot of records, a hit song, they something happens where they're basically forced to choose either they're out, or they're
Well,
in the synagogue
they
of
have to
Satan
do it
to keep
again.
going.
That's
Yeah.
that's what it is. They have to do it again, and it's in their contracts that they have to do it again. Okay, and in order to get that type of inspiration, you have to be willing to give up everything. Everything. Whether you're an author or a singer or an artist, or you know, everybody draws a blank at one point in your life. The thing is what are you willing to give up in order to get that spark back?
Well, and that's how I think that's part of their hook, right? So you hit that lull or whatever it is, and then they introduce their writers. Now sing this song, right? Our writers wrote this song or whatever, sing this song, right? And boom, it's a hit. Now you're addicted, right? Now the
And they
writers
keep
are writing your
making,
song, not you
Yep.
anymore as the artist,
Yep. Yep.
and they keep. They're the ones that dress them that way. They're the ones that give them the songs that are
Yeah, they like turn
not
them
good.
LGBTQ plus. Like Ozzy was wearing regular clothes, it seemed like, but then like all of a sudden rockstars started wearing weird stuff and long hair, and to each their own. I don't really care. But then like now we're starting to see all these people coming out of the closet, as they say. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's
Full satanic garb and everything else now.
Yeah.
Now they don't have to hide it anymore because people have accepted it. It's like Taylor Swift just did a concert not too long ago. Literally, basically in the mode of an Illuminati gathering or a satanic worship gathering. All these guys in robes and hoods and torches and everything else, and she was in the center of it all and telling people how or singing about how this was okay. You know, Again, it boils down to I lost my spark and I need it back, and I'm willing to give anything in order to get it back. Bob Dylan said it himself. He said he was nothing until he went to the crossroads. And when he went to the crossroads, he made a deal with the devil. He said it in multiple interviews. He said it. I made a deal with the devil. You know, and and look at him now. Now where Ozzy's concerned. You think about it like this. He was, like you said, he was a once vibrant young man, right? Okay, but when he's not on stage, he's Joe Biden.
I know. I remember watching that show they had.
But as soon as he walked on stage, what happens?
He
turns
with a
into
demon, man.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, I think a demon takes over and animates his body. I know that sounds crazy, but he opens himself to that, and that's what happens. Why wouldn't they, right?
Yeah, I believe that. I've seen the shorts that keep coming up on my feed, and this lady, I don't know who she is. She's in a church, and she's um, what do you call it? Exorcising demons. She's and it's these children that are going up there, and they are just sick. They're like, and you can just see it happen. It's like, I don't know. If it's put on, they're doing a really good job. But
honestly, we needed to see this.
thank you, John Dunning.
We needed to see this. We needed to see how they've been driving this freight train towards the cliff for years, years, and years.
Who would you say that's driving this train? I'm just curious. Who's driving this train? I'm just curious. Who's driving this train?
Who's driving the train? Satan is.
You go by it. You just said that people got to see this train run. I'm asking. And the question is, who's driving this train? I'm just asking a legitimate.
I think it's the synagogue of Satan.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, what people are driving
The
this
13.
train?
That's an interesting question because earlier I was thinking about, how in the Bible it talks about a third of the angels being cast down to earth and stuff, and like
Yeah.
it talks about like the abominations being destroyed during the great flood of Noah, like their children and stuff, but I don't know exactly what happened to them. Maybe I need to do a little more research, but they might still be around. And as far as we know, they could be the reptilian shapeshifters everyone's talking about, right?
Yeah.
And because the way that just how I guess God's law works is there has to be a contract. You have to agree to dance with the devil. You can say no, right? Life sucks, whatever. You get over it. You have eternal life, but you have that option to say no or to say yes, right? There has to be that crossroads. We just talked about it, right? So perhaps, and I'm just speculating, I don't know, I have no factual basis, but perhaps these fallen angels, in the Bible, it talks about Satan showing himself to Eve as a snake. That's a lizard type thing, whatever, right? So perhaps they can do some sort of shape shifting or whatever. I don't know.
He wasn't a snake at that point. He showed himself as a reptile, but I believe it was more in the means of a lizard. It was when God cast him down to the ground and said, "You will now crawl upon your belly."
Yeah,
for the rest of time. That his legs were taken away and was no longer able to walk. But see, I don't believe that where they're talking about the apple. I don't think that they're or talking about the fruit from the tree of life. I don't believe that was necessarily the tree in itself or a fruit hanging on that tree. I believe that it was sexual nature.
That could be, but I just real quick so I don't lose the train of thought what George was talking about, like who's running this train. And I think part of what and I think in my mind what I'm getting at is the fallen angels have that persuasion over man, right?
Mm-hmm.
A man has to agree to contract with them, but ultimately the problem isn't necessarily them. The problem is all the people that God gave life and free will that choose to follow them, that choose that way. So it's almost like the passengers on the train is a real problem. If the train crashes and there's no one on it, there's no harm. It's a loss of material unless it's chemicals and they blow it up next to my house, and that's a problem. But no, long story short, an empty train derails. There's no loss, not that big of a deal. Now, a train full of passengers derails, crashes, and there's hundreds of lives. That's the travesty, right? That's the tragedy, right?
Yeah, and where the souls go,
right? And that's ultimately, I think, like the big problem. It's all the passengers on the highway,
And that's where believe so much in being the example, living as the example, that hopefully my kids and grandkids will follow, because we have to be the example for them to see the good part of it, because they are overwhelmed with so much bad in school all through life. Maybe.
You're right. You're getting them off the train, right? You're showing them this is what happens if you get on that train. This is where it's going. It's no good. Tell
Did
your
y'all
friends not to get on that train.
What,
did
what
y'all
was that? What was that song that the Grateful Dead did? Riding that train, high on cocaine.
mm,
Casey Jones, you better watch your speed. You know, um, I think Hunter has rode that train.
He's on it right now. Guarantee you.
did y'all see that video of that lady on the airplane?
Yeah,
Which
And
one?
the one that wanted to
she
get
was totally freaked out. She said that whatever was sitting next to her wasn't real, and she was getting off the plane, and they ended up taking everybody off the plane.
Well, just today, another guy tried to jump out of the plane. Another plane. He tried to open up the door on the plane and jump.
Oh, are you talking about the young guy with the crew cut from England or something?
I don't
It was like on British
know where he
Airways
was
or
from.
something.
Yeah.
I just saw a video of a guy on British Airways, and a couple of people had to tackle him down because he was heading to the door to open the door.
But people are going a little crazy. But yeah, that one and the one Bonnie was just speaking about, she was saying that is not real. And she was determined whatever she was sitting by was not real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. She was crying. She was shook
Yeah.
to the
Yes.
core, shook.
Hell, I almost started crying with her.
That's interesting, Brew.
Well, I don't know what I would do in that situation.
I don't think I've seen that video.
Call in the name of Jesus. That's the only thing I'd know to do, to be honest with you guys. I'd be that fool, I suppose, but I wouldn't care. I'd do it anyway.
A lot of craziness in this world. And it's around the world, so you can't blame it on Biden, or you can't blame it on the actors. You can sit there and think that these actors are the ones that are doing it.
Oh wow,
They're
maybe that.
playing their part. All of them are playing their part. And here's the thing about it. If it's done by bribery, blackmail, threatening to kill their family members, however they're doing it, doesn't matter. They're still doing it.
Yep,
Doesn't matter
people are
if you look
still.
at his biblical or not, it doesn't matter. This shit ain't good for our country, no matter which way you slice it.
Navy vet said they say that lady is now missing, and someone else on that flight said the guy's eyes were changing. Ugh.
How do we set up a witness protection program for our people like this? Like,
We grab them.
let them there. We need to set up strategic places that, like,
Yeah.
a random 3 or 4 places they could just show up at, where it's no one knows. It's a random choice that they make last minute. They just boom show up at my house. I know what to do.
Yeah.
Hide the car.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, especially if we've all seen a video like that, and we know what the person looks like, and that they need protection. And George, however you came up a while ago, has never, your mic was working good then, and now it's back to glitchy. I don't know what the difference is, but just letting you know.
I've been waiting for Ronan to translate it for me. So it's been working pretty good. So he's hearing a lot better than I am. I thought maybe it was just my hearing is going because I'm old. You know, it's
I have headphones on. It is glitchy. I mean, it's I can hear enough to kind of understand what he's saying overall, but
I agree with you, John.
Yes.
100%. I agree with you. I mean, he's working in my life right now. So, and let me tell you, um, he's working overtime, big time, in my life right now, and um, preparing me for the next part of my journey here uh, has been both a blessing and a trial beyond anything that I ever imagined. But I'm right there with him. You know, every day I get up, looking forward to what he's going to show me, what he's going to teach me, and he's going to teach me how to handle it and deal with it in the right way. So I what he gives freely, I take in, and everything else I either pass it on to somebody else or I give it back so that he can expel that on somebody else. And it's our belief in humanity is is a fervent thing, because we all want to believe that humanity for the most part is good. We really truly want to believe that, but
Yeah.
when it boils down to it, what he wants us to do is to believe in ourselves, but believing in ourselves through what he allows us to be capable of, and knowing that what we are capable of comes because of him and through him. And as long as we recognize that and give him the glory, the praise, the high five or whatever, then he understands that we are not putting ourselves above him, and that's what a lot of it boils down to. Yes, we can all achieve our dreams, but when we look at it, how did we get there? How were we able to decipher and discern between these different viewpoints that could have taken us in 20 different directions? Well, it's because he inspires us in a way to allow us the discernment to understand what we would be getting ourselves into if we got into the wrong situation, or if we get into the right situation, and we have to, and we just, I let him plot the course. I'm just along for the ride. Use me whatever way you want. Just when you're done with me, make sure that that I'm constantly fully at peace. So and I give him all of that.
So when you're trusting your gut, is that discernment? Is that
Well, part of it. Well, part of that is. I think that part of that is a divine inspiration that comes from him. Um, you know, Trying to tell us, okay, this is good, but this here is bad. You know, and it's understanding the evil and understanding how to avoid the trap. You know, of it, and the thing is we have traps that are laid in front of us daily. Can we avoid those traps? Yes.
Yep.
We just have to let him lead us, and he will. He'll show you what's right. He'll show you what your mission is on this planet. But you have to let him. If you're not open to hearing what he's trying to tell you, then then it's going to go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
All you're doing is listening.
And
You're not hearing.
Hearing comes by the word of God, and we all have our Bibles, and we can read the word of God. And when
Listening is what you do with the radio.
Yep. And when we read the word of God and we seek to hear from him, we get a different understanding of the word.
Yeah.
Right? We get more direction, and that's where our discernment comes from. If I were to trust on my guts, to be like, this is kind of funny, and I hope it's not too rude, but sometimes what comes out of my guts is diarrhea. All right, like, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I didn't need to know that, but
we've all been there.
You're only 38. Wait till you get in your 50s.
I don't care who you are. We've all been there. So I learned better than to trust my gut. I trust my God. That's it. You know what I mean? And that's, I know it sounds silly, but
like
that's where it comes from, hearing the word of God. Sorry, Bonnie.
Yes, but like there was one time that I was supposed to go to San Antonio, and when we started driving towards there, I was just like, this just doesn't feel right. I don't know what's going on. Let's just turn around. We'll go another day. And had we have kept going, there was like a 5-car pile up. There was a pile up. We would have been in it. With the amount of time that it would have taken us to get to that spot, we would have been in that. And that's what I mean by trust your gut. It was like it, and maybe that's where our guardian angel comes in. I don't know.
Everybody's got one.
Yes. Some more wore out than others.
Oh, I tell you, mine's tired. He's waiting for me to get moved so he can take a vacation for like 20 years.
Is this mic working better?
There you go.
Yes,
Now
it
we
is.
can hear you good. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Can y'all excuse me for a second?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. Be good.
I'll be on my best behavior.
I'm not.
Is she gone yet?
All
right, let's go. No,
Best behavior. I ain't got that much time.
And then you mentioned hearing, and I was reading, how in the Bible you read about Jesus and the disciples going to the garden to pray before he was crucified, and when the soldiers came to get him, right, one of his disciples cut the soldier's ear off, and in the Bible it says, it tells you the story in multiple of the Gospels, and some of them I believe it does say like prophet or something like that, or priest, I think. It's kind of like pondering that for a little bit, and I found it very interesting because often we speak of the tongue as the sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we realize that a lot of the priests and soldiers and all these folks have been really misled, and they're, in a sense, what benefit is it of me to spew all this, to cut their ear off, proverbially speaking, with my sword, my tongue, and spewing all this harshness, and that was kind of one of the lessons I took from reading that story over again. It was very interesting to me because often we think of it in actually physically attacking somebody with, a sword, like we're quick to fight type of a thing. However, we're also quick to, I am anyway, I can speak for myself. I don't mean to include anybody else with me on this, but often quick to contradict somebody, or especially somebody that's coming at me like that, like they come at me with the status of I'm a cop or I'm a priest or a pastor or something. Right there, I'll tell you, I don't care who you are, because you ain't nothing but a man standing in front of me is what you are, right? So in rereading that and kind of thinking about it for a while, I realized, well, what would it benefit me to come at that man, because that's still the truth, or woman, whatever, standing in front of me in that moment with my sword drawn, if you will, ready to cut his ear off, and then where Jesus would have to come to mend that ear again, right? And on the other hand, how many sermons, how many misleading sermons have I heard in my lifetime? How many pastors, if you will, have cut my ear off? How many disciples, if you will, of Jesus? Because they all hold themselves out to be, right? Every church I've gone to has been a Christian church, in my experience anyway. And I know for a fact that in some of those buildings, if you will, that I've been in, there's been misleading sermons preached to me, and doing so, cutting my hearing off, cutting my ears off from the truth, from God. So it's, and when you
listening. So this is, it's the way that I always explain it is there's a difference between listening and hearing. Listening is what you do in your car when you're driving down the road, and every once in a while you hear a song that makes you turn up the radio and sing along. You hear a message, right? Okay. But the rest of the time, you're just listening. It's going in one ear and out the other. People get on there, talk, commercials go on, and everything else. You're just listening, and this is the problem, that a lot of time, it's like radio listeners. What do DJs say? Well, we have 100,000 listeners. They don't say we have 100,000 people hearing. They have 100,000 listeners, because subliminally all these messages are going into your head, but you're not getting the true intent of their message because you're not hearing it. You're just listening. And we leave ourselves open to so much when we just listen and don't hear the message, So it's understanding the difference between the two. And everybody says, no, they mean the exact same thing. No, they do not.
Right. Hearing is receiving the message, where listening is just recognizing the noise.
Yep. It's with those who, with ears to hear and eyes to see. Who said those words? Christ himself. He knows that there were people who were listening, and he said that my message is not going to be for all. Some will get it, some will not. Those with ears to hear will know I speak the truth. And it really puts a different light on it when you begin to realize what you have been listening to for years and now are hearing for the first time. And I'll shut up now.
Oh, you're on a roll.
Yeah. But that bell that just went off, that is my chicken needing to get flipped over and my potatoes needing to get stuck into the microwave. So I'm going to hop off of here and go and cook my dinner. Thanks for a great conversation. And I will catch you guys later.
Definitely. It was good talking with you. Enjoy your dinner.
Thanks.
I agree, John. People hide behind labels. They'll hide behind anything they can hide behind. People are cowards. I mean, I'm people too. I shouldn't be so free with my words like that. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I was thinking about dogs, and how they say dogs come from wolves. And ultimately, if we're being honest with ourselves, dogs are the cowards of wolves. Like a real wolf goes out there and catches its prey, doesn't play around, right? Like, that's a wolf. But over time, we took in the cowardly wolves, made them our dogs, made them our house pets. They work, they do work for us, they serve us, they're companions, all this stuff. In this day and age, they're eyes for the blind, right? They do all kinds of amazing things, hands and feet for the lame. It's just amazing what dogs will do. and to think these were the cowardly wolves, you know. And it's kind of like that's how we are ultimately as God's children, in a sense. You know, we're not any better, you know. We all need salvation. We're not, you know, better than each other in any way. There are those, I guess I should say, because in this community there may be those hearing about, you know, all the atrocities with human trafficking. Those people set aside. I'm talking about my friends here amongst us. We're not those kinds of people. We don't have hate and malice in our heart looking to destroy what God made. I can keep talking. I'll just kind of fill in the air. But I love my dog. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's a coward. He's brave. He protects the chickens. He's a wonderful chicken tender. Keeps the bunnies away from the garden.
All right, what y'all do is Hawk. Hello, Chuck and Echo. Was there anybody else?
I
think
no,
that's
Chuck.
it.
Hawk's dinner was calling him. He had to go flip the chicken, make the taters.
Oh, okay. Whoops. Sorry, Chuck.
I was just kind of rambling.
No, it sounded good. I was just confronted, and I'll have to take care of that. George is muted. He had to do something, I guess. Meat Puppets, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay. So what y'all talk about while I was gone? A lot.
Dogs.
Dogs.
Dogs
Well,
and
it's
dinner.
bedtime. I'm past bedtime.
Oh. You been feeling better, George?
Yeah, I got a half a roof done today, so yeah, I'm doing a lot better.
Good. Good to hear.
I'm sorer than hell, but
Yes.
not used to going up and down a ladder all day long. But I'm getting there. Slow but sure. I'm not in a race. Put it that way. But
Half a roof, man. That's a lot. I guess, how hot was it up there?
it was 69.
That ain't too bad.
Nice north wind blowing.
Oh, yeah. That's still a lot of work. Carrying those shingles up the ladder. Forget about it. I guess I don't know if you use shingles or not, but
Yeah, I was doing shingles this time.
Goodness.
I don't hate you, Chuck. Come on up panel. The link's somewhere up in that chat, I think. I shouldn't, I mean, it's not my place to invite anybody. But I love you, brother. Stick around.
Yes, Chuck.
Quit complaining. We're all in the same boat. We're all fucked.
I mean, he's right. You know, you're right. You're right. What are you going to do about it?
Right.
Hang out with my buddies. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
Ride the storm.
Yeah, man. Come on up. I'm not sure if it's still there, but
I sent him the link. He's got it.
I don't even know what's going on. I don't pay enough attention, I think, and I'm an airhead sometimes. If it doesn't concern me, I really don't care too much about it. I kind of live my life that way. It's actually saved me out of a lot of trouble, to be honest with you. Just, you know.
That saying, ignorance is bliss, had to come from somewhere. Where did that come from?
Probably the devil, because, I mean, at some levels, I guess, but ignorance is kind of what got us here. Ignore is the key, regular root word of that, if I'm not mistaken. And ignoring the evil is, and receiving the comfort and safety is kind of why we're all up shit's creek.
not realizing that this evilness everybody keeps talking about has been here forever. We just haven't been noticing it. Put it that way. I mean, it's been here. It's been right in front of our eyes. I can see it every day.
Ooh,
Every,
John, that's one way to put it.
I mean, what the hell? If you believe in the Bible, you're part of it right now. You're part of that Bible right now.
That's exciting to me, dude. That's like,
Yeah,
to me, that's good news. I don't
yeah.
know. At
I
least
mean,
there's a
what the hell?
purpose to me being here, not just another slave that's going to be led off to slaughter. Because let's be real about it. What's the other option? You're going to be a sacrifice to Satan or eternal life. Your choice. I don't know. I
Right.
guess.
I mean,
Yep, it's all about your soul. Hang on to your soul.
waist is tight, chin up. It's a long fight, but it's been going on for thousands of years. We're just getting our part of it. So, good night,
And
everybody. Have a good day.
you too, George.
Good night, George.
Thank you for coming up.
Thanks for having me, Bonnie.
Hugs to you and yours.
Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. I know you won't be up. That's 7 o'clock your time.
Yeah, I know.
You'll just have to go watch it later.
Yes, I will. I'll
All
be
right.
looking for it.
We'll talk to you later. It's just another short. It ain't gonna be long. I think this one's like 10 minutes long.
It was the best ones.
Oh, this one's pretty good. I like it.
I know the title has got me tantalized. I'm not gonna lie. It's I set the notification, but I probably won't be up for it, to be honest with you. I'll watch it, about 10:30.
There you go. Whenever you have to, right?
Yeah.
But y'all have a good day. I mean, just recognize what we're looking at and don't be afraid of it. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
So, have a great day. Till the
Thank
next
you,
time we
George.
meet. Adios,
Yes.
amigos.
Hopefully soon. Bless you.
Oh, it won't let me read.
No, can't go.
All right.
It said no.
I'm growing roots right here in Texas. Oops.
You got sucked into the internet. That's it.
Okay, I'll let you sleep. But lost Meat Puppet with him. He took Meat Puppet with him.
Oh my.
We're ready to close this one up.
I think so, if you are. I don't know if you have anything else. I think Chuck's going to bed. Everyone looks like they're going to bed. Love you, brother. Have a good night.
Yes, Chuck.
Have to feel the fire.
Yeah, I'll let them talk that out. I don't know what's going on.
But I
It's,
appreciate you having me up, and I definitely found the fellowship and spending time with everybody beneficial. I always appreciate that fellowship. It's important.
thank you. I do too. Definitely. And the chat, getting in on it, and appreciate everyone's input. And
Yeah, it's good to see everybody in chat and their input in the conversations. Keeps it going.
yep.
Good.
And y'all answered some tough questions. Yep.
Good night, Benjamin.
Night, Benjamin. You hang in there. He's close to you, Rona, isn't he?
I think my parents, if I'm not mistaken, but
Yeah, maybe. All right, y'all. I'm going to close this up. Thank you all for coming. It was great. Talking about the Lord is always great. Y'all have a blessed night. Love y'all. Keep your eyes open. We got this. God's got this. But we do too. Y'all take care.